And we're live.
I think since the first time I've been on the show, I kind of have the mindset of I ought to learn how to shoot. I ought to at least know how to do that. And it's been something that I've really been thinking about more for COVID time.
Really? Because I think COVID and the BLM stuff has been very good for the gun industry. Like those two things have people feeling like, I guess something about the pandemic is a little bit apocalypse-y, like who knows where this goes. Not so much in my exposure, not so much anymore. I feel like I've learned to normalize COVID and wearing a mask at the gas station or whatever, the Quickie Mart. But when it first happened, it was crazy. Like, oh my gosh, can you believe it? A pandemic in 2020? It always seemed fake before. Ebola was fake. SARS was fake. Work with me here.
Swine flu.
So, is that different than SARS? Any swine flu? Fine. One's bird flu. One of those is we've said at least one of them twice.
West Nile.
Sure, West Nile, and it. Anyway, all these things sort of came.
Mad cow.
Yeah, that's a great one. They were all these things. None of them had any impact on me. They were just things I read about in the news, kind of hyped up, seemingly out of nothing. Maybe some of them were a big deal in like Africa or Asia, but here by my house, there was no impact whatsoever. And then COVID comes along and it's like, wait, what? No, I thought all of this was silliness. I thought it was just like drama scare news. And
the media cried wolf one too many times.
Right. And so then, you go outside and you're like, someone on my Facebook said, I'm the weird one for not wearing a mask. And it feels like a real thing. And you can see why someone would be like, well, where does this go? I've seen TV shows and movies with the premise that like half the population disappears one night. And then that changes like manufacturing and recessions and power. And by power, I mean electricity. And I can see why someone might be like, I should have a gun in my possession. Just for that 1% chance that things go weird.
I'm not even as far as that quite yet, but okay. I am of the mindset of I have so little knowledge about firearms that handling and seeing them in action kind of in person would be helpful for just like a better understanding of what is happening there.
So I wasn't raised around guns. And the first thing I did was hire an instructor. And it wasn't too much. It was like $40 for the guy instructed at a range. It was a gun shop that had a range. So I think I paid $40 and he taught me how to hold it. He taught me
so you did this through like the range. You went to the range and be like, hey, I want to hire like some instructions.
The gun store was a range, right? So these are the same thing. Sure. The gun store had a range like behind it. And they had instructors. So I just went and Kyle might have heard of him. I think his name's Chris Tilley. He's like a national good guy. He was on some TV show. Anyway, and it was nice to have a guy like teach me how to shoot to get started and be safe. And we focused a lot on safety. I thought I knew guns and like I answered most of the questions right. They gave me to start off. They're like, hey, here's a gun. Identify all the parts of it. Just so we know where you are. You can't fail this test. And I'm like, I got muzzle and barrel right. But the truth is I'm only like halfway sure, what is the difference? And and he taught me how to shoot. We started with a 22 and I was really glad that was my first introduction to guns, with a lesson.
It seems somewhat useful.
How do you start if you're a grown up? You might have a friend, but that even better, I think, is an instructor who's taught other people who are first timers.
Yeah, I imagine it's like learning to drive a car, right? You go somewhere where no one could see you, and then you pull out your gun, and you just, there's like, nope, you got to lead them a bit more.
You want to find an empty parking lot and just let loose.
You got to get him first before he starts running. You're never going to hit him like that.
You don't want to start at a riot, clearly, because things could get too action-packed. You want to work your way up.
Yeah. Walmart.
Like a bell tower or something.
Oh, yeah. Then you're in control.
You have the access point controlled. They're just moving around down there. It's easy. What's the beginner level, I guess?
A bell tower sounds good. What would you be more interested in, shooting rifles or pistols?
I think I want the experience of trying it. So I would want to do both. Yeah. And then I would be able to answer that question better after, right?
Sure.
Yeah. Sure. They're all very fun for different reasons. They do different things.
Dude, and I feel like I sometimes forget, even though like intellectually I know how much more deadly rifles are. You know, heck, in the recent news thing, right? That guy got shot 7 times with a pistol.
I wonder about that every time I hear that. I'm like, what the fuck? Seems like a lot of times to be shot.
My wife said that too, but it's weird to me. You're supposed to shoot to kill, and like, don't you just sort of reevaluate after 3 hits? But okay. So the guy got shot 7 times, paralyzed, big injury, but he's okay. Those other guys got shot once, and 2 of them are dead. It's just rifles versus pistols, man. It's a whole different world.
Yeah, and it depends on the pistol. Most people are shooting 9mm.
Where do shotguns come in compared to that?
Shotgun's the best.
Depending on which side you're on. You want to be on the stock side.
Shotguns can be the worst.
You're telling me if I were to get shot, pick a pistol, you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
If the guy's like, you want me to shoot you with this rifle or this pistol? I'll be like, pistol.
People survive something like 85% of pistol shots. I forget where I read that. But
it does not seem like an efficient weapon to kill people with.
Well, a lot of them are like...
Does it stop people?
They shoot themselves. You know, they're shooting their hands and legs and stuff. But most people survive pistol shots. It feels like a death laser in your hand, but most people live. Not those cops that... They were literally like pulling on the guy's shirt and shooting him in the back. It was up close, all like chest shots and stuff. Guy lived.
Is that recommended if you're like bad at like marksmanship or something?
I wouldn't know. I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, the energy that's being delivered is, you know, it's mass and velocity, and where most pistol bullets have a larger mass but a much lower velocity. Like a 9mm
mass than rifle rounds?
Most of them do, yeah.
Why is that?
I don't know why. They just do. So like a 44 Magnum bullet might be 240 grains. I realize you don't know how much a grain is, but it's irrelevant because a 5.56, like an AR-15 M16 rifle bullet, is like is it 50? I think 55 grains, like a quarter the size, you know, but 3 times the velocity, and the end result is something that's just now. A 44 Magnum is kind of a bad example because it is one of the most powerful handguns in the world.
1 times the other, though, so isn't that less kinetic energy, like less of an impact if you quartered it and then tripled it?
Like I said, the 44 Magnum is a poor example because it is one of the most powerful handguns in the world.
Okay,
it is.
So maybe those numbers
for the longest time it was. A 9mm pistol, on the other hand, isn't 240 grains. I think those bullets are like 125 grains, roughly. I'm thinking back to reloading charts, so it's a little fuzzy, but close enough. 125 grains and going like 1,000 feet per second, maybe something like that. 1,000, 1,200. Rifle bullets go like 2,800 feet per second, and their size varies, like the weight of the bullet. Like a 5.56 is around 55 grains, I think, but a 308 could be more like 150 grains.
The impact of the bullets that's doing the work? I know, like, isn't some of this shit supposed to be like bouncing around inside you and like ripping huge chunks out of you kind of deal?
The ammunition type definitely does matter. I think that police officers, I know military, but I think most police officers all use full metal jacket bullets. So it's just a copper jacket over a piece of lead, and it doesn't do anything special. But if you're a civilian, you're probably using something much more terrifying, like a hollow point, where you've got like this hollow point so that when it hits, it opens up into these petals of like a flower, and it cuts these huge swaths of flesh away. And it rifle bullets, especially full metal jacket ones, do this thing called pass through, where they pass through the person. And because they're doing that, they're not delivering all of their energy into that person. It's going through them. But these hollow point bullets, you get all the energy because the bullet essentially explodes inside of you in many cases. I mean, there are bullets where you've got a hollow point with like this silicone inside the hollow point, and suspended within that are tiny little BBs. So this hollow point hits you, opens up into all those petals. Those petals go making their own courses throughout your body like little razors. And then all of this shot, it's called shot. These tiny BB pellets are projected through you, making all these awful paths of destruction through
being
you.
as mean as possible. And then behind that, there's a tapeworm. And the tapeworm.
Actually, yeah. Behind that is the core of the bullet, which is the heaviest part. And it's continuing to penetrate. It's just keeping going. So what you end up with is this 3-dimensional area of destruction inside the human body that looks like you took a fucking like one of the big soup cans, like family style, and just put that through someone, and everything that it went through is just mangled and destroyed and ruined.
There's something. Go ahead.
Guns are.
What class is that?
Personal defense.
Yeah, personal defense rounds. You know, a lot of those personal defense rounds get scary like that.
And I'm not sure if scary is more dangerous, because some of them can be gimmicky. Like you put too many little pedals and stuff in it, and it's like, oh, actually, it got kind of lame when we tested it. Maybe you feel differently. It looks like you do.
I don't know where I fall, because I tested that RIP ammo, the rapidly invasive projectile ammunition, and it looks gimmicky. But god damn it, when we would shoot ballistic gel with it fuck it up so bad. And those bullets were very light. They were all copper. There was no lead in them, and they went really fucking fast, like 50% faster than a standard 9mm round. And when they hit, they just exploded, essentially, into many, many projectiles going throughout the body. And you wouldn't get passed through. You know, it wouldn't go through the person and hit something or someone else you don't want it to. But also, I think a lot of people had an issue with when you compare it to like just like a good hollow point round, that normally you've got like this solid thing that's just cutting a big hole all the way through the person, and now instead you've just got this thing that's just exploding, and maybe it doesn't penetrate, maybe it doesn't hit anything vital, maybe if they've got any kind of like, maybe they got a thick enough coat, I don't know. You know, I'm not in the business of gunfighting, so
a leather coat on top of a hoodie can do weird things, you know.
I don't know. Yeah, so like if I had to pick a bullet that went into my pistol to like protect my life, and be like, all right, you're going to that room, you're going to gunfight. Which bullet do you want? I'd probably pick one of the really nice, like, safety slugs, one of the really good, expensive hollow point bullets that's meant for that sort of thing, and maybe not something that's experimental.
There's the other thing. Maybe you can talk about this, but when a rifle round goes through a guy, there's the damage that you would think comes from an ice pick, but that's not all. It goes through so quickly, the cavity kind of swells and comes back, and you can see it in slow-mo. And apparently that motion is a big part of the damage they produce.
Yeah. Yeah, we saw that really come into play when we would shoot ballistics gel and with high-speed photography. You'd see that, you know, the bullet is very small, about pinky size, you know, passing through this thing, but it's creating this vacuum or this pressure wave as it goes through, where the flesh is expanding around it in a much larger area, and then it collapses back and then rebounds and does this roar thing as the energy is dispersed. And you could see that really accurately through ballistics gel, like I said, with the high-speed photography. And it's terrifying.
You really don't want your kidney to do that.
You don't want your kidney to do that. You don't want
your liver, your lungs, your heart. None of those things do that.
None of those things. But pistol, rifle, shotgun, you know, they're all very different things. And then, you know, you can break them down to even further, right? Because there's lots of different kinds of rifles. There's bolt action target rifles, and there's little 22 rifles. There's combat style, semi-automatic, high capacity magazine rifles. There's